Good evening and welcome to CB8 Speaks, a monthly program about the issues related to the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island, defined by Community Board 8 and south border of 59th Street, north border of 96th, from 5th Avenue to East River, and includes Roosevelt Island. And tonight's topic is about the Queensboro Oval, a 1.2-acre park which is nestled under the Queensboro Bridge. Tonight's guests include Council Member Ben Kallos, who has been on the community board and has been serving our district, which includes the Oval area, for a couple of years now. We also have the co-chairs of the Parks Committee, Peggy Price and Susan Evans. So let's get started. Can we have your perspective on what the key issues are related to the Oval? Let's start with Peggy.
Thank you, Monica. The Queensboro Oval is a public park and has been for more than 100 years. It's located on York Avenue between 59th Street and 60th Street. But most people have no idea that this is, in fact, a bona fide city park, because most of the year it's covered with a tennis bubble and is licensed by the city to a private tennis club. This is quite a problem in the opinion of the community board, because our community has the least parkland of any district in all of New York City, coupled with the fact that taxpayers are paying duties to the city for a public park that they can't access most of the year. So we feel that this is grotesquely unfair to especially our community with so little parkland. So we're trying very hard to convince the city that it should no longer license this space next year when its current license with the private tennis club runs out.
Now, this has actually been a controversy for almost decades, right?
It has been, yes, and it's been increasingly a problem because over the years, the amount of time that the public has been allowed to access this park has decreased to a point where it's only open now for a mere 10 weeks during the summer. And it's impinged on people's rights to the park to the point where, as I mentioned, most people have no idea that they can access this park at all when it's open.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the actions that have been taken place in the past, but we want to get right out to the audience right now that there's a big event coming up to support the park. Can you just tell everyone real quickly when and where?
On Saturday, June 25th, Community Board 8 is sponsoring a big community gathering at the Queensboro Oval, which again is located on York Avenue between 59th Street and 60th Street. It will take place between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. and it will feature a live 5-piece band with a singer. It will also have activities for children, including a clown and face painters. And we're going to have a free raffle of sports equipment donated to us by New York Metro Sports. And we'll also have impressive speakers, including Council Member Ben Kallos. And it's going to be a fantastic event. We hope everyone will come. But the point of it is to drive home the message to the city of New York, excuse me, that the public needs this park and wants to make it part of our community as a place for much needed rest and relaxation and fun.
Well, Councilmember Kallos is a very, very strong advocate of parks and getting for the people of Community Board 8 the resources they need to enjoy their life. Could you talk a little bit about your support for this particular effort and anything related to other efforts that you're involved with?
Absolutely. And Monica, thank you for having me, and thank you to Peggy and Susan for their leadership at the Community Board 8 Parks Committee. It's a volunteer position, and with our partnership between the community boards and elected officials like myself, we can try to move mountains or tennis bubbles, depending on the day. I'd also like to thank the technical crew who are making this happen at the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and also the viewers who are joining us tonight or whenever they might be watching it online. And so every day I get complaints from people because there's not enough parkland in this district. In fact, as Peggy mentioned, New Yorkers for Parks found that my council district on the Upper East Side and Community Board 8 has less parkland per capita than anywhere else in the city. We're in the bottom 3 for 51 council districts. And so we end up having to share every single inch of parkland with thousands and thousands of people just because of how dense we are. We're one of the densest tracts in America. And so anywhere we can find park space, anywhere, we should be using it and making it available to the public for free because, as Peggy said, our tax dollars pay for it. And at the Queensboro Oval, if you want to use it, it costs hundreds of dollars an hour. And that's just not a fee that many people have. If you look at a similar tennis court operated just by the Parks Department, it actually costs, I think, a couple of dollars a year, and you just reserve it. And so we're hoping to get this space back. As you said, it's only 10 weeks a year. Those 10 weeks a year, it's been reported in the press, it's not even usable. They're not giving us back a court that children can play on or that seniors can appreciate. They're giving us a mud field that isn't much use to anybody. And so we want this space back. We want the community to be able to use it the entire year round. And the funding that we get from leasing out this space really isn't worth it for what we're giving up.
Yes. Susan, maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the history. We were talking before the show started, what happened the last few years about the cutback of the amount of time that the public can get to the Oval.
Well, that's on the part of the Parks Department, and I really cannot give you an answer why they've cut it back the way they have. But I also like to bring up how this used to be a really industrial area. And for decades, it was sort of not at all residential. And now they've built a number of luxury buildings, rental condos, big apartments. So there are going to be many children, adults who need a space to use. And as a co-chair with Peggy, one of our main goals has been to try to identify spaces that we can turn back into parks or into parks. And this turned out to be one of the biggest pieces of property that is a park and should be really put back into the public's hands.
Monica, could I say that Community Board 8 unanimously passed a resolution earlier this year spelling out how we want to use this property. And the Community Board decided that it should be a multi-use sports complex with areas for seating. We felt that there would be ample room for a running track around the perimeter, for tennis, perhaps in the back part, for the central park to be used as a softball area and for soccer. And in the wintertime, we wanted to do something that you can't do in a lot of parks, which is have a place to go. We wanted to be an ice skating rink. And so we'd like to turn what could be a fallow area into something you could use all year round and maximize this space for the interest of so many people. I mean, there is no, for example, ice skating rink right in that neighborhood at all. And there isn't really a place for the softball players other than that in that area. And this could also be used for tennis playing for most of the year, by the way. And so it could accommodate such a large swath of the public that can't get on it now, and make our community resources much more available to people. We have something practically for everybody in what we're proposing to do, and we just feel that this is such an exciting idea, an innovative idea. But most importantly of all, this is already a park. This is a designated city park. We just want it back. And we feel that we really have a right to this space that people are paying taxes for. And we hope that the city will hear our plea and see that this is a necessary facility that could be made into something extremely special for our community, and indeed for all of New York. We have a space that softball players from around the city can come use, and in fact they do when they can, which is a very small sliver of the year. But we can open it up to teams and individuals that could use it from all over the place. But it's especially important to have something, as Susan said, in that community that has metamorphosized from being an industrial area that no one wanted to go to, that might be an appropriate place for a tennis bubble, to a highly residential community that is lacking in adequate space for the health and well-being of its neighbors.
I think we might want to point out the way it's being handled, the park, we call it now, when the bubble is down. In fact, we'll try to put some photos up on the screen showing what the condition was last year in 2015 when the bubble was taken down, and according to DNA Info, the club had stated they were on their Facebook page that they were closing for the season June 7th. 2015, but people could still book tennis time up to June 11th, and then they were taking the bubble down on the 15th, which was the first day of softball, which was announced on the Parks Department website. And the DNA Info quoted someone from the tennis club as saying that it was a mistake to schedule softball on that day. So there is a really tough situation going on right now. What do you think is going to happen with the next phase after you're going to have the big event on June 25th? What's your vision going forward on that?
Well, we hope that the Parks Department will listen to us, listen to the community, and we hope that there'll be enough publicity, enough people showing up for this event, which we think there will be. And it's exciting, and the more people that know that this is their park and should be used by all, I think that the Parks Department will try to negotiate with the community board and see if we can do something. That, as Peggy and Ben has said, it is such a wonderful space that can be turned into just like the High Line. I mean, it could be an innovative park with, and as Peggy said, an ice skating ring, different running track, soccer, all these different activities. And it is such a shame that for decades, most of my friends and colleagues don't even know it's a park. They just assume that it's owned by the tennis bubble. And it isn't owned by the tennis bubble. And the tennis bubble, I think, has had its lifespan there for many decades, since the 70s. And we've discovered that a lot of the tennis players are from the West Side. So we don't even have that many members from Community Board 8 who are using this private facility, which, by the way, is very expensive. I just feel that this is such a special, special opportunity. And there are many, many things that can be done with it. And it should be turned into a wonderful space for everyone.
And we are not ending the campaign as of June 25th. The committee has made it clear that the June 25th big gathering, rally, whatever we want to call it, is to introduce the community to the fact that there's a big space here that ought to be used and that they should use it. But our task is to convince the city of New York that we should get it back so we can make it available. So we will be continuing our petition drive. We will continue to write to the Parks Department, which we're doing all the time. And we've already passed 3 resolutions on this issue in the past year from the community board. We may have to pass more, but we will push as hard as we can after June 25th to try to accomplish our goal. But the campaign doesn't end on June 25th. That's just the sort of introductory salvo, if you will.
And could I just add, with the help of, for example, this wonderful council person who's next to me, Ben Kallos, it is just so special to have people like Councilman Kallos behind our effort. And we really support what you're doing and appreciate it.
And I just want to say thank you, because the democracy only works if people like you participate, and council members have certain powers, the community board have other powers, but together and with vigilance, if we keep paying attention to this reason this happened for 30 years is because no one paid attention, but we're all paying attention, we're all watching, and we're hoping that the Parks Department will do the right thing. And we're hoping that people will join us on June 25th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the kids' activities, for the live music, for the free raffles, and to get that sports equipment from New York Metropolitan Sports. And hopefully we can make a change and get this space back.
You had mentioned about not knowing people using the park. There was a community board member whose father used to practice running there, and he said he wouldn't have been able to run for so many years without that oval there. So there are a few people who are able to use it, but most of the year it's been shut out. The public has been shut out from that. Ben, how do you think this compares to other campaigns you've been working on? I think of the waste transfer station. You've been very, very important in that fight. Is that a similar sort of a situation, or do you think this is going to take a different level of effort?
With the Marine Transfer Station, the neighborhood is continuing to fight it. The fact that it took so long for them to start construction is because of how hard the community was fighting and for how many years we've been able to win that fight. I actually compare this more to our fight against the super scraper just 1 block south, which is just to say that for a very long time, the status quo for 30 years has been that the city has privatized a piece of public land, sold it for a couple of $1 million a year, so that somebody else in turn could sell it for hundreds of dollars an hour and make a windfall. And enough is enough. The community is paying attention. The contract's coming up. We identified this back, I think, in 2014 or 2015. And Peggy and Susan have been incredibly vigilant, paying attention to it day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. And that's about how important community boards are, because you're paying attention to things that other people may have missed over the past 30 years. But we're here, and our goal is to make sure that that contract is not renewed, and that for the other 42 weeks a year that was currently taken away from the community, unless you had a couple of $100s an hour, that the community can get it back. So we're going to ask everyone to please make sure you keep up with what's happening at Community Board 8 website, cb8m.com. Make sure to fill out the petition, keep getting updates, come out on June 25th, and keep coming out and let people know that you want this park, it belongs to you, and they must give it.
Thanks for mentioning the website. That's a great resource. Peggy, are there other places people can go to get more information about this controversy or the efforts that you're making?
Right. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter account with information about the event, and also the press coverage we've gotten already and will be continuing to try to get. So we'll use this to update people on what they can expect to happen on June 25th. But it's meant to attract people to the event, and we hope everybody will come. But we're going to, as I said before, continue the campaign beyond June 25th. So these vehicles will be excellent ways to communicate with the public about how it's going with our campaign to what we call, it's called Rally for Oval. That's our hashtag on Twitter. And our Facebook page is called Open the Oval. And we would love it if people would visit the page to keep up with what we're doing with this. There's a picture, nice big picture of the oval there. So for those who aren't familiar with the site, they could see it, and probably they would remember when they see the tennis bubble what the space looks like now, and envision how nice it could be, as opposed to the industrial bubble in the middle of a residential area.
You mentioned to me when we talked earlier today that this is almost a full-time job in this effort.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and Susan can contribute
laughing,
too.
but it is.
Yeah, every day. You know, we have our own jobs that we haven't actually been able to get to lately because we've contacted all the area public schools. We've contacted all of our elected officials. We've had to coordinate with the police department, with the city about getting the approvals and permits for everything. I had no idea how bureaucratic it could be just to set up a band in a park. Oh, you don't want to do this. And getting parking places approved for the people who will be bringing their band equipment. It goes on and on. But every single day, 7 days a week, we have been working on this.
Right.
Just to pull it all together with...
I think it's going to be worth it. I'm going to have to admit that I grew up in the neighborhood. I'm in my 30s, and I don't think I've ever got a chance to set foot there because I've never known exactly when those 10 weeks would fall that I could get there. So this might be a chance for a lot of people who live in the district and who live on the east side in Community Board 8 or even Community Board 6 to get to see what we're missing out on without having to pay several $100s.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Yes, thank you.
When you were growing up, Ben, did you even know that it was a park?
It was just this tennis bubble, and I said I want to go in, and just didn't have the money to pony up so that we could just have the privilege of going into the bubble.
I never knew it was a park.
Yeah. One of the favorite photos I've seen of the park is the picture of Joe Namath playing softball.
Yes.
That actually was in a Daily News article about an earlier fight over the park.
Yes, actually, this is the story right here with the picture of Joe Namath.
Oh, good.
There he is.
If we can, well, hopefully we'll get up on the screen because this is kind of faint. But yeah, it was used as softball for softball league back then. A softball league is using it now, and those softball players pay a permit fee. And have you been in touch with the softball players at all?
Well, the softball players are two of our co-sponsors of this event. One of them is Yorkville Sports Association, and the other is New York Metro Sports. That is the organization that's donating the sports equipment that we will be raffling off. So yes, sure, they're very concerned, believe me, and they were out fighting tooth and nail last time we took up this cause, and it was quite an episode to deal with.
Well, we only have about a minute left, and I want to thank everyone. But Ben, can you make a closing appeal to the people? Because I know you're helping us promote the event, but could you just give us one more comment?
So I think that if you're watching from home right now, please join us on June 25th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Queensboro Oval, not in Queens. It's right here in Manhattan between 59th and 60th Street on York Avenue. We'll have a great live band. We'll have children's activities. We'll have clowns. We'll have face painting. And there will be a free raffle where you can win sports equipment, and that's provided by New York Metro Sports. And there'll also be a chance to just enjoy the park. And for me, at least, it's going to be my first time there, and hope you can join me, Community Board 8's Parks Committee, the softball teams, and all of your neighbors.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.